Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I am bringing you guys my competitive virtual world deck profile. Now that we've gotten the new support out of Blazing Vortex, I figured I would bring you guys this update. And apart from my budget variant, which I did just a few weeks ago, this is going to be the competitive version, so it is going to contain a little bit more expensive cards. But without any further ado, let's just get on with the deck profile. Overall, this deck is still relatively budget-wise, like if depending on what you want for the main deck. There's a lot of people who are experimenting with like Pot of Prosperity and whatnot, but we're not playing any of that in here. So we're going to go on with the 3 copies of Lulu. This card is obviously your best starter of the deck. It really just helps you to extend your plays, really like push the boundaries. So yeah, like really no more explanation needed there. Then our 3 copies of Lao Lao. This card is also really important. We're basically like maxing out on basically all of the monsters except for the last couple. We're going to then go on into our 3 copies of Lily. This card is also really sweet because it lets you, you pitch, Foolish 1 card out of the deck, and then you can also have the option, it is optional, to pitch the 3rd card into the graveyard, which is really, really cool. So I do like that. Then we're going on into our 3 copies of Gigi. And then lastly, our other cards, we have 2 copies of Nyan. So this is one of them that we are not maxing out on. And then the 1 copy of the new Tutu, which you just really need at 1. It is a really great extender for your plays, but overall, it does get really, really bricky if you try to play it at more. I've done a little bit of experimenting, and really just 1 copy of the Tutu, and then just now we can play Nyan, which is really one of the greatest cards in the deck, but you only need it at 2 because all of your resources are really recurable and whatnot, and you can push so much stuff back into the deck. So this is getting to be a very, very standard build. The unfortunate thing about this deck profile is that a lot of it is pretty standard. I tried my absolute best to make the deck profile as, independent and original of my own accord. But yeah, overall, this deck is just getting pretty formulaic. So then we're going to go on into the hand traps. We have 3 copies of Gamma. And then, of course, the 1 driver to go along with them. Basically, this card just works so good for driver. It is a level 6, so I really try to save this in my hand. Like, if my opponent's kind of going into a big combo, if I think that they're going into a monster like an Appaloosa or a Borload Savage, if they're, especially with Borload Savage, because he has an Omni Negate. So if there's a way that I think that my opponent is going to be getting out anything that has monster negates or quick effects, then I'm trying to like save the Gamma in hand. That way I can get driver onto my field during my turn and then hopefully use him as a resource rather than all of these cards just getting banished. Then we're going to go on for our other hand trap. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This card is just really, really great for helping out the deck to make sure that your opponent doesn't get out the big bad monsters that they're trying to go for. That's going to do it for all of the monsters. We're playing a little bit more hand traps in the side deck, but we will get to that as well. Then we're playing our 3 copies of the Kowloon. This card is really, really crazy. I absolutely love the 4th effect of this card. It would just be like, maybe we'll get more extra deck monsters and whatnot, but overall, like getting it's something that a lot of novice players I think are trying to go for, trying to get up to the effect where you have 4 of the virtual world gate cards on the field, and then you're trying to like special summon all of your virtual worlds out of the extra deck. The only problem is that like your Jaja, Lao Lao, and the other XZ, the Fan, those cards just don't really do anything when they hit the field, and you don't play any links in the deck, so it's like they just don't really matter. They don't have any material or anything, so overall, like, it is just really cool when you do resolve it, though, so I do really, really like this card, and it just helps you to extend so you can find your Qinglongs even better, or Qinglong, however you want to say it, but yeah, this card is really, really awesome. Just helps you to get a really simple negate on your opponent every single turn, and then also it helps you to flush out a certain card out of the deck, and then you get to discard. For those of you who are trying to learn this deck and playing it online, please keep in mind Qinglong's effect when it is resolving, because there's been a million times on Dueling Nexus and EDO Pro that I'm playing this, and then I use Qinglong, add Lulu to hand, and then the next thing I'm thinking is I need to activate Lulu's effect, and then I forget that Qinglong still needs to discard on resolution, so then I end up discarding the Lulu, and I'm back to square one with no combo pieces. So just some pro tip advice: make sure to always remember the resolution of Qinglong. Then going on, probably like my biggest change to the deck from what other people are playing, I'm playing 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. So Droplet is by far the most expensive card in my deck, but I really do like this card in here. It's really amazing for the mirror match and just any other kind of boards that you're trying to break against. The other deck that you're going to be finding a lot in today's meta is going to be Drytron, obviously. So if your opponent is playing Drytron and stuff, this can just really help for you to get around stuff like the Vanities Ruler and whatnot. So I really do like Forbidden Droplet, and also it can also help set up your graveyard with dumping like a Qinglong or something into the graveyard. Overall, I just really think that Droplet is really, really nice. Another card that I really wanted to cut, but I did actually end up finding the merit for it, Foolish Burial Goods. In my opinion, when I was starting to play the deck, I really thought that Foolish Burial Goods was kind of like shooting the dead horse. Like, it just seemed like everything in your deck is already so good at dumping junk into the graveyard. Like, why do I need Foolish Burial Goods? Until you realize that Qinglong is always just a, like, basically a 1 or 2 card search off into finding your Lulu or whatever monster that you really need. So using Foolish Burial Goods is really, really great. You just need to make sure that you actually have enough cards in hand when you're doing this. And if it is kind of dead in your hand, if you have all of the rest of your combo pieces that you need, you can always just use it as a discard for Droplet or something else. So overall, two Foolish Burial Goods, you're hopefully only going to end up drawing 1 in the duel, but if you can see this in your opening hand, that's what's going to really, really help you out. So I do like playing the 2 copies. I don't think I would ever want to play it at 3. And playing it at 1, it's just going to be too inconsistent, so I do like playing it just at the 2 of. Another 2 of is Pot of Desires. This is a card that I also think is really just good at 2 for the deck, especially if you're just trying to keep it to a tight 40-card deck. Basically, with Pot of Desires, you end up banishing. We're playing a good handful of like 1-ofs in the deck, but even if you end up banishing like your Driver, you can always use your Nyan or other cards to like kind of, like reallocate your resources. So that's totally fine. I like the only problem is that, like, if you don't get VFD out on turn 1, then a lot of the times you do get kind of into these really grindy duels, and having 3 Pot of Desires and everything, I've just ended up drawing way too many of them and banishing way too many cards in my deck. Overall, I just think that Desires is very good at a 2-of for this deck. Having the extra draw power is awesome, but if you aren't seeing Desires, you're probably seeing your other combo pieces anyways, so you're probably going to be fine. Then we're going to go on into our 1 copy of E-Telly, pretty mandatory for the deck. 1 copy of Called by the Grave. I would absolutely not cut this. This is so good for stopping your opponent if they activate Lancia. If they're trying to like hit you with like Droll and Lockbird, whatever it is, Called by the Grave is really, really awesome. Also, like, a single Ash can sometimes really stop the deck if you're just trying to get a monster on board. So yeah, overall, I really do think that Called by the Grave is just really, really nice for the deck. Then we're going on into our 2 copies of Chuchi. This is 1 card that I wish I could put up to 3, but it did end up having it cut for the Zhang Wu, the new card that came out in Blazing Vortex. But overall, Chuchi, really, really awesome. You just don't want to end up drawing like 2 or, God forbid, 3 of them in your opening hand. So for that reason, I did drop it down to a 2 of. And then with the Zhang Wu, it is actually pretty nice to sometimes have on field, so I would almost consider bumping it up to a 2 of in the deck. But yeah, I think with a little bit more experimentation, we'll have to see in the future. But I really like this card because it can give you battle protection even if you don't have any other monsters. As long as you just sort of have like these 2 cards on the field, you can get a monster destruction and then also a battle protection by turning one of your opponent's monsters into defense once per battle, which is kind of nice, like, to be honest. It just doesn't, it's not effective against links or anything like that, so that for that reason, it's, you know, people aren't really playing this to put it on the field, they're just trying to dump it to the graveyard because it's a free monster reborn, and so with your Foolish Burial Goods, you can basically turn goods into a monster reborn, which is really, really cool. So that's going to do it for the main deck. This is a tight 40 card main deck. So for the extra, we will just move on right away into our 2 copies of True King of All Calamities and the 1 copy of Double A Zeus, which is going to be our next most expensive card after the Forbidden Droplets. But there's not really any reason why you would never play these 3 cards. You could almost get rid of a True King of All Calamities, but just in general, playing these 2 of them in the deck is really, really strong, just in case you get into a grindier duel, or if you just want to really whip your dick out on your opponent and activate both of them on, you know, summon both of them during your first turn, just to establish dominance over your opponent. That is just, if that's your prerogative, just go for it. Then we're going to go on into our 1 copy of Constellar Palladium. Overall, this card is just really, really nice for just bouncing stuff. Then we're going on into the 1 copy of Fan. It is a target that we can get off of our Kowloon, and overall, Fan is just really, really nice. It has a little bit of protection and can sort of recur some of your resources as well. Then we have the 1 copy of number 39, Utopia Beyond. Then the 1 copy of Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. This card is just really, really fantastic. 1 copy of Jaja. This is the 1 card that could kind of flex out of the deck. I could see this getting taken out. It's not too big of a deal that it is in here, though. Like, it does have its uses for sure. But yeah, so like I could see this coming out, but I just don't really know what for what I would want to do. Maybe the number 49 Fortune Tune, I believe. But yeah, overall, I still really like it. Then the 1 copy of Stardust Charge Warrior. If you get both of these cards on the field at the exact same time, it is really, really amazing, because basically your Utopia Beyond is going to turn all of your opponent's monsters 0, and then your Charge Warrior can attack all of your opponent's monsters. So these 2 cards at the same time can just really, really help push for game. And since your Charge Warrior can draw you a card when he's summoned, he's also just really, really nice. You know, because you can, he draws you a card and then you can try to extend into the Utopia Beyond. So I really like the basically just like the whole extra deck is just very toolbox, helps you to basically do whatever you need to do at the moment. 1 copy of the Jui, 1 copy of Shen. I absolutely love Shen so much. 1 copy of Croc Dragon, 1 Cloud Castle. I've seen a lot of people playing Cloud Castle at 2. For me, it's never really come up. I'm always able to sort of recur resources with either Cloud Castle or just bringing back my Shen. So overall, Cloud Castle at 2, I just don't really see why, but I guess other people have had it come up, so for me, I just don't, I think it's fine at a 1 of. Then we'll go with the 1 copy of Vermilion Dragon and the 1 copy of Xiaofang. This is 1 card that I didn't really give much credit to at first. I didn't really understand why people wanted to play it, but overall, this card is really, really nice, and I believe that there is just enough extra deck space, and so for that reason, I did add Xiaofang. The only other card that I really would kind of like in here is the Coral Dragon, but you basically get the same effect off for the Stardust Charge Warrior, so for that reason, I thought that it could kind of get cut. But that's going to do it for the extra deck, and so let's get on into the side. So for our side deck, like I've mentioned on a lot of my competitive deck profiles, like this is kind of where you're going to see a lot of the variance is what people put in their side. So I guess just for example here, we're going to go with 1 copy or 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. It's just really, really nice for in the mirror match and a lot of other matches. So Lancia is just really good. 3 copies of Nibiru. I would almost like to main deck this at this point because there is just so much combo, and even the control decks in the format combo. So, I mean, Nibiru just kind of makes sense. But, yeah, I think that it's still fine in the side. Then we'll go on into our 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. This card is mandatory this format, in my opinion. If you go against Drytron and you get this off on them, then they basically lose the duel. So, I mean, yeah, Droll and Lockbird, absolutely fantastic for the side deck. Then 2 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison, and then 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. These 2 cards, I was considering switching them for triple tactical talent. But in my opinion, like with the with Ice Dragon's Prison, it just seemed like it was a little bit more useful. There's a lot of times where triple tactical talents kind of seems useless, and so like with the Desires and Forbidden Droplet and the like Foolish Burial Goods, this is kind of like a really solid engine for like drawing cards and getting like good negates and disrupting your opponent with the Droplet. But if I was to switch out the Droplet in the main deck, it would probably be for triple tactical talents. The only thing that I found, though, was just that triple tactical talents, again, just a little bit too situational. So I thought Ice Dragon's Prison was totally fine in here. It's really great against other matchups like Salamangreat, again, in the mirror match, and just, Drytron, a whole bunch of stuff it hits. So that's kind of why I liked having it in here. Then 3 copies of our Cosmic Cyclone just to finish it off for those pesky back row decks. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for my deck profile. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. I've really been enjoying playing around with this deck. It is super duper fun. Hopefully True King of All Calamities gets banned on this upcoming ban list, but even so, I really think that this deck is going to be just fine because there's so much toolbox strategy that you can do in this extra deck. I think that it is going to be totally fine. There's just so much power here. I've really been loving this deck, and hopefully you guys have been too. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And also don't forget to check out my Warrock deck profile coming out this upcoming weekend, which is going to have details for my Harpy giveaway. I was not able to get to the Harpy giveaway on Valentine's Day like I was hoping, just with like some work stuff and the weather up here in Minnesota. Things have been crazy, but I did want to still get that Harpy giveaway going out. This was intentionally supposed to be a Valentine's Day giveaway because of Harpies, obviously my Valentine. But yeah, I know that a lot of you guys are interested in building Harpies, and I just wanted to do this little giveaway for you guys. Again, check out that Warrock deck profile for all of the details, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.